welcome to another episode of the Dealer Playbook, a podcast that explores how to create a thriving career in the retail auto industry. My name is Michael Cirillo, and today I'm excited to bring you a brand new segment called the Wednesday Word, where we break apart a word and apply it to our lives. All right, so one of the things that I thought we could do here is actually it's a borrowed idea. And I thought, man, no better person to bring in than David Bradley from Grant Cardone, who I am stealing the idea from. But I figure, like, since you're here and you're the one that's doing this with me, I'm not stealing it. But so let me give you a background, gang. David is the resident sales mentor in the DPB Pro community on Facebook, which I tell you about, you need to check out. And he does something really cool in the group called the Wednesday Word. And then he also publishes these Wednesday words on his podcast, which you need to go check out. But I thought, you know what? It's Wednesday, and we as human beings like things. What's it called when you like the Wednesday Word or Friday Fire or like just wordplay? Is that what we call that?
I like wordplay.
Okay, so we like wordplay. So I figured, hey, we could bring this concept to the Wednesday Word, but the reason that this is significant, the reason that I believe there is value in this for you is that when you start to dissect a word and you start to kind of break it apart, and then you understand a little bit more about how it came into play and how we adopted it and what does it actually mean, then that gives you so much more context into how to apply that word to your life. And that's something that David's been doing that I really enjoy. And so we thought we'd bring this to you. So, Mr. Bradley.
Yes.
What is today's word?
Today's word, I think, it's not, I don't think, I know. I know today's word. Today's word is abundance. I love the fact that you have the laugh thing.
Oh, I got more than laughs. What else do we have over here? Yeah, we got that. We got some cheering. We got, oh no, I don't like that.
Is there any Barney Fife queued up?
No, but I should. I can replace them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Abundance.
Right.
Let's look at this. What is abundance all about? We hear a lot. I say abundance a lot. In fact, when I write my morning gratitude out, that is a word that is repeated quite frequently.
You ever wonder or get worried? Like sometimes these words that people say become buzzwords and they get overused and then they lose their impact.
Oh, all the time. Like one of my team members came to me the other day who helps on the production of the podcast. And he's like, you know what? I think there's a word that I hate more than any other word now. And I said, what word is that? And he said, content. I hate the word content. And I'm like, let's come up with a different word to describe it then. But until we figure out what that word is, content is the word that explains what we're creating here. So yeah, that happens quite frequently.
Right. And we take the words for granted too. Like we use them so much that they lose their impact, they lose their power. So yeah, that's what I like about the Wednesday Word, is where you can just sort of push pause and go, well, what is this word what's it all about? Like, what does it really mean? What does it mean to me? How do I use it? And not just how do I use it in my speech, but how do I use it in life? So when we look at abundance, there's some of the obvious things. It's a noun, right? The first one from Webster would be an ample quantity, as in an abundant amount or profusion.
Right.
Right. So a city that has an abundance of fine restaurants. And since this is the Dealer Playbook and we are talking to people in automotive, I think one of the things that we tend to just go, when you talk about abundance, you tend to go to having lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Having a profusion, and that could be of money or of customers or because that's the second definition, affluence and wealth.
Right.
A life of abundance, right? And so then we get into some pop psych stuff, and then we get out of that. And then the third one is a relative degree of plentifulness, which that in and of itself worries me. That seems like not enough.
Yeah, right.
A relative degree. I don't want to have a relative degree of anything.
Yeah, relative to what?
Exactly. So one of the things that a couple of years ago at the 10X Growth Conference. It was the last time we did it in Vegas. Brant, one of the first things he said was, not just here, but in everything we do, we and him, most importantly, we want to exchange with our clients in abundance.
Right.
And so like that's since, if you're a dealer and you listen to this, like that phrase, in what ways, how can you immediately begin to exchange with your clients in abundance?
Yeah.
And if you figure that out, then you'll never have to worry about CSI or a Google review ever again.
Well, and I mean, and I even think about how negativity bias is such a powerful thing, and it's usually where majority of people that I run into have such a well-refined negativity bias, and that they are always focused on the lack. There's a lack of leads. There's a lack of business. There's a lack of money. There's a lack of happiness. There's a lack of civility. There's a lack of whatever. But having a mindset that is finally attuned to abundance, and like and I think about the way I think of abundance. It's weird because I'm not thinking in terms of money or business or health, but I feel a general like, no, guys, come on. There is abundance in all things. What you focus on, you find. So I could argue that people that have a negativity bias that are seeing a lack in civility, I am looking in places that show me there is an abundance in civility, in humanity, in love, in health, in whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? So of course, if I've fixed my mind to focus on lack, then I will never see the abundance that actually exists in the same, ecosystem.
No, because and what like when you say what you focus on, you find is that you legitimately put a portion of your brain to work at doing that.
Right.
It's I think it's called the reticular activating system.
Shut up with your fancy knowledge.
I just made that up.
The reticular. What did you call it?
See, I can't even pronounce it now. Reticular activating system.
Yeah.
So it's part of the brain that actually goes out and looks for patterns, which is some very core fundamental human survival behavior and activity.
Right.
And so if you decide, hey man, there's nothing going on, or all these customers are jacks and strokes and there's no money to be made anymore, or whatever it is you decide, your brain's going to be like, well, let's go validate that. And it literally goes to work to look for that. And that's just the same. And to give you the obvious example is that when you start thinking about, hey, I'd like to maybe get a blue Honda.
Yeah.
And then everywhere you go, suddenly blue Hondas are like everywhere. Right? Same thing.
Cognitive bias, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So
we should play some Scrabble with all these big words we're dropping.
The problem is when I sit down to play Scrabble, the only word that comes to my mind is to and north. It's like nothing longer than a 4-letter word. 5 letters, So where's this word come from? Why did we start using it? How did it come to be?
It's an old French term, and
Inspector Clouseau.
It originated from Latin, meaning fullness and plenty.
Okay.
Yeah. So that whole noun is just from a state of abundentum.
Mm-hmm.
What you call me? And that goes in. There's some more big words. Present participle of abundare, which means to overflow.
Right.
Which I think is fantastic. So that's where you can start really pulling in the life lesson or a sales lesson. Like where is there overflow in your life right now? And if you're going to have, a cup, do you want it overfloweth? Or this goes right back to what we're seeing. Half empty, nothing in it. Like,
yeah.
How is your life in a place of overflow. And is it a good overflow or a bad overflow?
Yeah.
Because you're going to have it either way based on what you decide you see.
Right. Yeah. And this, for me, this comes back to the interview I did with Grant sitting in his hotel room there in Vegas, where we talked about be obsessed, be average, and balance and all of these sorts of things. And really, I can see, when you use the word overflow, I start thinking about 10X, because that to me really is the concept, is an overflow of the right effort brings you the intended result or the desired result. The dictionary, like I was kind of off with the whole dictionary's definition of abundance, because I'm like, well, this kind of feeds into there's either not enough, or I'm constantly feeling unsatisfied and not enough of anything, or I'm satisfied. But then when you start talking about overflow, I'm like, okay, now we're talking.
Yeah. Which is why I think it's so important to look at some of these words and where they came from and what may have been done to them to minimize their true meaning.
Yeah. Yeah, because that seems to be the case in a lot of the, as I've listened to your podcast, that seems to be the case with a lot of the words as we've diluted them into English, Western culture. We have, that's exactly it. We've diluted their meaning and therefore the ability to understand output at a whole different level. There you go, gang. The word of the day is abundance.